Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is TWiT Live Special number 130, recorded June 20th, 2012. Windows Phone 8 announcement. This TWiT Special is brought to you by Slingbox, which can turn your iPad into a television. With the iPad app from Slingbox, you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you go. Check it out at slingbox.com/twit. Welcome to TWiT Live breaking news coverage of the Windows Phone Summit. It's a month of announcements. We had WWDC with Apple earlier in the month. Monday, we had Microsoft's with their Surface tablet announcements. Later, at the end of the month, we've got Google I/O. Today, the Windows Phone Developers Summit. We're expecting to hear the details about the next version of the Windows Phone operating system, codename Apollo. Some people call it Windows Phone 8. Joining us, Iyaz Akhtar, co-host of Tech News Today with myself, and oft-times fill-in host on Windows Weekly.
Yep.
And Mary Jo Foley, host of Windows Weekly and editor of allaboutmicrosoft.com. Welcome, Mary Jo.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. Alex Gumpel, I should point out, is running our board, and Alex is our resident Windows Phone fan, so expect to hear from him as well, because you use a Windows Phone every day, right?
I do. On purpose. On purpose.
I do, too, and I'm a fan, too.
And Mary Jo, I believe you're a Verizon customer, yes?
I am.
So you're stuck with the same phone as I.
Fan.
So maybe today's announcement will be Verizon gets all the the Apollo phones.
All LTE all the time.
That would be the most awesome announcement ever. Yay.
Well, 8's supposed to.
That would make you guys really happy, I know. Well, if you would like to follow along, or if you'd like to not hear us talk about the announcement as it happens, it is being put on the Channel 9 website from Microsoft.
We got something now.
Channel9.msdn.com. It looks like it's just launching right now, so you can go there and check it out. But we're going to follow along. We're going to play this and give some instant analysis as it goes, as we do on TWiT. And before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor. TWiT's breaking news is brought to you by Slingbox, the world's most important tech news as it happens right here on TWiT. Slingbox helps bring it to you. Some companies say their systems let you watch TV everywhere, but only Slingbox lets you watch everything on your home TV anywhere you go. You can control and watch your DVR. You don't have to pay extra for special services. You just buy the Slingbox, buy the apps, and you're done. You're not limited to certain channels. Whatever you can do with your remote at home, you can do with the Slingbox. Slingbox works with any iPad, any smartphone, iPod Touch, laptop, tablet. Get started with Slingbox. Just connect it to the internet and to your home TV, and you're done. Anywhere you get an internet connection, you can watch your home TV. It's that easy. Slingbox is available at Best Buy and Amazon. You can learn more at slingbox.com/TWiT. So I imagine they'll start pretty close to on time, but we got a few minutes here. Mary Jo, what do you expect to hear them talk about today?
I definitely expect to hear them talk about Apollo. That's not even said for sure yet in the announcements or anything. It just says sneak peek of the future of Windows Phone. So you assume, okay, we're going to hear about Apollo, right? And there's been a ton of leaks already about Apollo. So it'll be interesting to see how many of those many leaks are actually true. Like there was a leak that it was going to be supporting multi-core, supporting NFC, that it would, what else? There were so many.
A lot of Skype integration rumors.
Skype integration, right. Yep, all that. So I hope it lives up to it because, man, if even half of these leaked features are actually in it, it'll be huge. So I'm putting on my fangirl hat right now.
Iyaz, what about you? You're on the outside looking in like me, evaluating this. I got pretty close with the Lumia 800.
Well, the Windows Phone devices and their approach have been very different, and I really appreciate the fact of rethinking the way the interface is. You don't go up to this device and go, this is an iOS clone, this is an Android clone, this is just a desktop OS. No, this is completely different. But what I'm really curious about is what will they hold back from today's announcement, because I don't think Microsoft wants to put like a freeze on Windows Phone sales right now. I mean, they're okay, and the market share is growing slightly, and they're doing quite well overseas. But the thing is, if they say that the next Windows Phone is going to be fantastic and amazing, and by the way, your current hardware might not be able to support it, I mean, that's a big if, they might put a freeze on the sales. And that's the kind of thing of like how soon do you tell all the cool stuff or not? Because if they really want this to be a hit, it should come out around the holiday season, and then we will see the full-on competition between iOS 6, Windows Phone, Apollo, and the next version of Android.
Alex, you're a Windows Phone user, running the board for us today. Thanks for running the board for us this morning. Like Mary Jo, you carry a Windows Phone, use it every day on Verizon. What are you hoping for?
I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that this is going to be a little more cohesive with the rest of the Microsoft world. So, like a Windows 8 thing, now that this is now based on Windows 8 instead of CE, maybe it'll be kind of similar in a way, to some extent. I hope.
What about
that's another rumor, right? Yeah, that was another rumor that they take out the Windows embedded core from Windows Phone, which is what's in there now, and they put in instead a true Windows core, like actually some of the same guts as are in Windows 8.
Right, because Windows Phone 7 is based on like a hybrid of CE 6 and 7 or 5 and 6 or something.
Yeah, they say 6.x or however they put it.
Yeah, so they're stripping that out and replacing it with an actual the Windows 8 core that Windows 8 and Windows RT are both based on.
And then we might see a much tighter integration with Windows 8.
We can only hope.
Would that mean that apps that you could write for the Windows App Store or App Market would be able to go from Windows 8 to Windows Apollo 8 because it has the same kind of basis? I mean, that's what it seems like, but I'm not exactly technically sure.
Yeah. If it is the same core, people are thinking it's a good story for developers because they're saying write once, run anywhere. Mm-hmm. That's what you're thinking in theory, right? So if you have the same core, why couldn't you just develop an app and do kind of more what Apple does, right? Which is like you can run an app, you can run an Apple phone app, iPhone app on iPad, even though you have to do the 2x thing. But I think the theory is less redoing, more code reuse, make it easier on developers so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel if they want to do an app for both Windows 8 and for Windows Phone 8.
Looks like they finally let the hungry press inside, according to the live blogs, and we're getting a shot of the stage now on the on some of the blogs. The stream is just playing funky music. Should we try to overinterpret what that music means? It's just instrumental.
Sure, hang on.
Oh, no, it's not. I don't recognize the song.
It's upbeat.
I need Shazam.
It's going to be an upbeat announcement. Are they serving mimosas like they did in the Surface announcement? That's the real question.
They are. We should get some ourselves, shouldn't we?
I know. Yeah, they do mimosas for an afternoon announcement. That's a morning announcement.
Probably because they had to break some really weird news. They're like, okay, we're going to do hardware. So you guys need to take the edge off a little.
Now, that was interesting. I read today that a lot of the vendors are telling people that they didn't know about this announcement until very close to the time, maybe only a couple days before.
Yeah, that seems like a really strange move because I know when we were doing the live coverage, I was wondering if maybe Microsoft gave a break to the x86 developers by having the delay by 90 days for the Surface Pro with x86 inside, or did they give a cheaper license to the ARM vendors because, well, okay, we're going to introduce our own ARM tablet, but the way it looks now, it seems that they didn't give a heads up, and I doubt they give a discount on anything or any kind of, I guess, like lip service to these companies to tell them, hey, guys, we are going to go into this ourselves, so you better step it up.
Yeah. I actually kind of believe these reports about them not telling the OEMs because think about it. If they had told them further in advance, that whole thing would have leaked. OEMs, they talk. And especially if they were mad, they'd talk, right? If they found out what Microsoft was doing, they'd love to leak it to us and say, hey, you know what they're going to do? And we don't like this. So maybe they did really just tell them a few days before. But at the same time, there were rumors about Microsoft doing its own tablet a year ago. Digitimes had some stuff. I don't always like
them. They're
50-50,
yeah.
Right. But they had I looked it up. They had an article last June where they said, you know what, Microsoft's going to make its own tablet. So even if they didn't tell them outright, I think they should have had some inkling that could possibly happen.
Now, does Microsoft negotiate these tablet waters by putting this out there, showing how it's done, and then allowing manufacturers to riff on the Surface theme and kind of free it back into the ecosystem? Do you think Microsoft controls this forever?
No, I think they control it. I've seen some people speculate, this is just like a reference design
like
platform.
Like a Nexus kind of thing.
Right, and they're like, see, we want you to do this. But it seems like they're going their own way with this. And, the one concession I think that they are making to OEMs is saying, we're only going to sell this in Microsoft stores. So there aren't that many of those so far.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see these at Best Buy and all. So that's a little bit of a help to OEMs. But I don't think they're going to say, okay, guys, here you go. Now you can make a Surface too. I don't think so.
I'm trying to think about this because Microsoft obviously is going to have a very clean Microsoft experience. You're not going to have a bunch of bloatware on there. You're not going to have pre-installed applications that Microsoft doesn't want there. So they're going to have these systems pretty optimized. So the question is whether the OEMs are going to bother to do the same, because the PC market's been subsidized by bloatware. So the question is, will the Microsoft experience be so much better that the OEMs can't put this stuff on there, and they might not want to? But what's their alternative though? They have, what other operating system are they going to go to? Android? Are they going to move to just Linux? Or are they just going to basically suck it up and go, Microsoft, you got us, but we have to go with you guys because you make us money.
It does seem like they set the stage for this with the Microsoft Signature series. Now, those were still made by the OEMs, but Microsoft said, we're going to sell a version that has none of the bloatware, none of the crapware, and let people know, like, this is the way Windows is supposed to be. The tablets are essentially the same thing, but with Microsoft having more control over the hardware in that case.
Yeah, and like I've said before, Microsoft's been on the tablet push since, 2000? So the fact that they've never had a successful tablet really is just, it seems like it's like, okay.
It gets under Bill Gates' skin. You know it does.
Yeah, because I remember at CES watching that. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got a Slate PC. That's amazing. I want one of those. And then the execution just wasn't there because the technology wasn't there. But to be able to control the message and go, look, this is awesome. We have it, and it's great, and it's ours. You guys didn't screw it up. Don't put a crappy trackpad on that Ultrabook. Don't do that. Just make it. We've made a really good piece of hardware.
I got to say, I was super excited when I saw the Surface tablets. And I know not everybody is, but I just have been really kind of at my wit's end about Windows 8. I'm like, man, I don't see a single platform I want to put this operating system on. Like, I'm not going to put it on my existing PC, and I don't see any new PCs I want yet. So I was getting kind of depressed about Windows 8. So this was great to see something that actually showcases the operating system and kind of makes you forget about the parts of it that you don't like some of the new things you're going to have to learn with navigation and all. So I was actually happy.
Start menu stuff has been frustrating me in Windows 8 too. And this made it all make sense. I looked at it and I said, oh, they wrote Windows 8 for this device and these two devices, the Intel and the ARM. And then they sort of ported it, for lack of a better word, to the traditional desktop platform. It all made sense to me after I saw the Surface.
The other thing is, if they have it at the Microsoft stores, they will have educated people explaining how to use the new tricks of Windows 8. Because when you try to use it the first time, there's a swipe from right to left that brings up the charm menu, that kind of thing. Like, if you have the right personnel there to explain something, that's a really great way to go, yeah, this is the way it works. We got this. Because otherwise, sometimes you go to these stores and the customer service people don't have any idea what are the tricks about these tablets, assuming they're even powered on. Microsoft's going to have a pretty good way to explain to the customer, yeah, this is the way it works. Check it out.
We are waiting for the Windows Phone Summit to get going. It was supposed to get going 7 minutes ago, but these things are never on time. So it'll probably get started here shortly. Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com joining us. Iyaz, Akhtar, and Alex Gumpel alongside as well. Breaking news brought to you by Slingbox. Mary Jo, do you expect any surprises from Microsoft today? Something that maybe they wouldn't be expected to announce? Any new platforms that Windows Phone would be ported to, maybe?
Yeah, I've seen people guessing since Monday that maybe we'll see a Microsoft phone called Surface. I think no, but if they did that, that would be a huge, huge surprise, right?
Like a Samsung Note kind of thing?
Yeah, or even just a phone, because when they announced the Surface branding, they said, we're going to have a bunch of other products coming that could be branded Surface. And they never really said what. Is it just PCs and tablets, or could that even be phones, right? And if Microsoft did make their own phone, or if they took a Nokia phone and put a Microsoft brand on it, that would be like very different, interesting, and very alienating too to the partners, like the Move with the PC. So that's one surprise, although not one that I think is going to happen.
Yeah, that sounds really dangerous if they had the Surface brand on a phone, because they already have the Surface brand on two versions of Windows with RT and 8. If you had Surface on Windows Phone on top of it, it'd be like, okay, what operating system is this? Do the apps run on this or that? I have no idea. Because
Well, that's obviously Microsoft Surface Home Premium.
I don't think they want that marketing blitz where they have to explain. Don't forget to get the Ultimate Edition that allows you to run the apps on all 3 platforms. They want to make that as seamless as possible. And that's
what if they could make it so you could, just like you can instant upgrade Windows, you could instant upgrade your hardware and make it a bigger tablet.
That would be impressive. If they have, I think it's called in the Marvel Universe, unstable molecules, so that they could expand it at will, I think that they would have a winner. Actually, I'd be very interested in a...
But can you get Media Center on it?
If you pay a very special upgrade price, your unstable molecules will expand to include Media Center.
Now, in addition to the normal table full of computers that we see at these sorts of announcements, The Verge has spotted a couple of phone-looking devices, as you would expect. So they're trying to figure out anything ahead of time from these 2 dark images. They just look like phones to me. I don't see anything crazy about them.
Just be giant remote controls for the
well, and that's kind of what Windows Phone is moving towards, is being a giant remote control, among other things.
Well, yeah, with Xbox
for
Smart
your
Glass,
Xbox and Surface.
that becomes a secondary display. I'm just kind of curious if Windows Phone brand, this is going to sound crazy, like just goes away and just becomes Windows 8 or Windows, because if they build if the core is the same, why not just say it's all the same device? Because when Microsoft killed Windows Mobile, I thought that was a huge mistake, the brand, because it was wide enough that it could include tablets and phones. And when they introduced Windows Phone, there's no way you could put Windows Phone on a tablet because that sounds silly. Like, what's that running? What's your tablet running? Windows Phone. So I had to go with Windows RT. So I'm just kind of curious, why not just take RT and just shove it on a phone?
Yeah.
Because
why not?
It's already ARM.
Could you? You could, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you've got an ARM processor. It's possible. Is it too much, though? Is it too much operating system?
Is it too much operating system?
Yeah, and also too many confusing things. Like, what are you going to buy? Windows. Windows what? Windows, And I think you need the word phone there to distinguish it from a Windows PC or a Windows tablet. I don't know. Just at least for the average person, like the everyday consumer.
I'm just thinking, they're just going to say it's a Windows phone. If it's like, I have a Windows PC, they don't market it as Windows PC.
True. That's true.
Just because it's just like an iPhone, you just ended up just calling it by its descriptor. But I'm very curious about where they're going, because I think what Microsoft has done, even though they have the different brands, they have RT and they have 8 and they have Xbox, the interface is becoming really similar across the board. We have these tiles. You get used to one, you get used to the other. You don't have to learn a whole lot from one to the other. So if you get used to that Metro interface, you're used to the Xbox interface, and that means you're also used to the Windows Phone interface. They only have to teach you once. So the question is, can they do it successfully?
We've got a report from The Verge that they are serving the press jelly beans.
See?
Uh-huh.
They're moving to their own version of Android. I can't
We
believe it.
decided to give up Windows Phone.
Let's start that rumor.
Porting Android. I think it's probably more of a dig.
They have all the patents out there anyway. They make money on Android phones. Why not make more money directly?
It'll be cheaper. They'll pay themselves the royalty.
Revenue stream. Sue Self.
For me, though, the very best rumor, if it could be true, would be Verizon gets on board with Windows Phone, because I'm a Verizon user and because a ton of people are, right? And I think that to me, if they did that today, that would be my best surprise of the week.
Yes. Now, Verizon's been holding back because of LTE support. They said they wanted all new smartphones to have LTE, and up to this point, I believe there's one Windows Phone that has LTE, if I'm right, but not a whole lot of them right now.
They're now asking the press to take their seats, so we should be getting some announcements from Microsoft shortly.
Thank you. Here, thank you.
I was thanking them for taking the seats. You don't play dance music when you want them to take their seats.
You gotta play sit-down music.
Yeah.
So then they kumbaya for a sit-in.
Yeah.
Sit down. Don't protest, actually.
Lead in some sway.
Right.
If you look under your seat right now, you have the new Windows Phone. No.
We have something happening. Little intro video. Showing it. Oh.
Well, maybe that they were very excited, so they paused.
We want to show you just how awesome the Windows Phone launch was.
That is the anticipation of receiving your Windows Phone device. But we'll see what happens here. They're showing off this press video showing, oh, look, Windows Phone is very impressive, and they have a bunch of critics' quotes, of course, like a movie. Like, yes, Windows Phone is a departure, that kind of thing.
No, I can't. Ken in the chat room, that is not a demo fail. That is a stream fail, I have a feeling.
Yeah, otherwise it would be all over the live blogs as well.
All right, we're getting it back. Here we go.
It's a very We might need to upgrade Silverlight.
Is it streaming up in the taskbar? Oh, there we go.
Okay, Windows Phone flies at you. For the audio listeners, they're showing still the Windows press video, or just a promo video.
Showing all of the launch events.
Oh, we are not robots.
That was that big phone, that big giant phone in Herald Square.
Herald Square?
Yep.
And that's right. They had that weird time-saving time machine.
Yep.
I think that was Nokia or something. Silky smooth, says Time Magazine. And
there's an app counter that keeps appearing, and it shows they're trying to push the number of apps that are developed for Windows Phone, because that has been one of the criticisms, is that the ecosystem isn't as developed. 90,000 plus apps. It's all about what apps, though, not the number.
Yeah, and Microsoft's been pretty... When Windows Phone came out, they've been pretty tight with Facebook integration from the get-go. That People Hub is something that's still not anything close to... I mean, iOS doesn't have anything like that.
Welcome, Windows Phone Corporate Vice President, Terry Myerson.
All right, VP Terry Myerson is going to kick off our stage very casually dressed.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Windows Phone Summit. I'm Terry Myerson. I lead the Windows Phone division at Microsoft. I want to thank you for being here today. This year, Microsoft has reimagined Windows. With the introduction of Windows 8, we have new silicon, new user experiences, a new development platform, and new devices. Well, today, for the first time, we are here to preview the next chapter in our Windows story.
A Nook phone.
Windows Phone 8. And before we do that, let's talk about how we got to where we are today. It was 3.5 years ago when a small group of us decided we needed to reimagine the Windows mobile experience. We looked at everything that was available to our customers at that time, and we knew there was a better way. From that work, we distilled 3 principles that have guided us every day since. The first was that Windows Phone was going to be a more personal experience.
So they're going to go through the history of Windows Phone, set up where they've been, where they're going, do some numbers. This is typical presentation stuff.
And they're skipping over the Windows Mobile thing, skipping over the Kin thing. They're like, oh yeah.
They're not going to talk about Pocket PCs now.
Oh, I love Pocket PC.
Our second guiding principle was that the experience on our phones were going to be most relevant to the user.
That's a good idea.
This phone knows so much about you through its sensors and the content on the device. We challenged ourselves to bring information and experiences that were most relevant to the user right to them.
I will say that the Windows Phone widgets are fantastic.
We wanted to deliver the most connected experience that we could, betting on the cloud to bring the user's content to them, as well as storing it back there for peace of mind. From this, we have the birth of Metro and our first Windows Phone devices a little over 18 months ago. Now, when we want to understand how Windows Phone customers have responded to our work, one place we go is Amazon's phone marketplace. Amazon lets us sort all of their phones by users' reviews and ratings. When we went there yesterday to build this slide, the top 3 phones from all of Amazon's customers were Windows phones.
Now that's a very positive thing if you're a Microsoft employee.
5 of the top 6 were Windows phones. 7 of the top 9 were Windows phones.
Now these are based on ratings. He's not talking about sales.
7 of the top 9. Frankly, it's humbling to work on a product which customers have reviewed so highly. The customer reviews talk about the beautiful Metro experience. They talk about the buttery smooth performance. My favorite quote from a customer, Windows Phone is a breath of fresh air. So what does the future hold for Windows Phone?
It's a buttery breath.
Well, we're going to start sharing that with you today. Today is our Windows Phone 8 platform preview. where we will share those aspects of the platform which our developer partners need to know now. And to get started with that, I'd like to introduce someone who was there with me 3.5 years ago when we built this vision, Joe Belfiore.
Now that's an interesting take because they don't have impressive sales numbers yet for Windows Phone, so they go with the ratings.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here with you.
So the developers need to know,
pick up where
not the
Terry
customer.
left off, and
so we might not see
sort
the
of
full
it's a
lead
developer
into
summit,
where
though,
we're
right?
going
So-
with Windows Phone this
It is a
fall.
developer summit.
Right.
As Terry mentioned, I was one of the people who were there when we reset our efforts with Windows Phone 7. And at the time, I was lucky enough to get to come to Mobile World Congress and sort of describe what we were changing and show the Metro user experience for the first time, talk about how we changed the developer platform and the way we were altering our approach to working with hardware vendors. But at the time we were doing this transition, there were a lot of things that we were trying to improve and change. There was one that we weren't able to get done, although we started the work really early. And that was the fact that our core technology, the heart of the operating system, was based on Windows CE.
There you go.
And
we were talking about this
although that was great for the low-cost, low-power phones that had preceded Windows Phone 7, as phones get more powerful, we have been feeling more and more that we could benefit from an upgrade at our core. So let me just jump in today and tell you the big announcement that we have today is that the future of Windows Phone is about a shared Windows core, and that Windows Phone 8 this holiday will ship with a shared core inside that's common code between Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8.
Called it.
There you go.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that, too.
And shipping this holiday season.
Let me explain a little bit about what that means, because I'm getting into some sort of technical implementation here. And what's interesting is to get a sense for not only what that means technically, but what its effects are. When we say shared Windows core, we're referring to a set of components that include the kernel, networking, the file system, multimedia, graphics support, all those kinds of things. And what we're going to do today is take you through the implications of that shared core, because really it changes what the platform is about. And that's a platform for software developers and for hardware makers, and it affects how all these people are exposed to Windows Phone. And that core technology, which is shared between Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, has as sort of its heritage the Windows kernel that's been around and is in use today by over 1.3 billion people. So this is a well-tested
they do have a
piece
nice
of
big number
software.
to share.
It has high familiarity for many people in the value chain, and now that familiarity and performance and reliability is all going to come to Windows Phone. So let's talk in a little bit more specifics about what this means for various audiences of Windows Phone. For consumers, this new shared core is going to mean a much greater choice in hardware. This new shared core technology scales down and it scales up.
And that's important because they want to make cheaper phones, or at least Nokia wants to make cheaper phones.
With a wider range of capabilities at a wider range of price points. It also means some new experiences that you'll get that cross over between your phone and your PC. It also means a huge amount for both end users and developers in terms of the kinds of apps that we expect to see on Windows Phone 8. With a shared common core, developers who are working on Windows 8 have an incredibly easy transition to Windows Phone.
This is what you were talking about, Mary Jo, is that write once, run everywhere promise.
Quickly and easily to Windows 8. And in that situation, everyone benefits. It's better for consumers, it's better for developers, and it's better for our hardware partners as well, because the ecosystem grows and gets more healthy. The hardware partners in particular benefit from the shared core in some really interesting ways. At the heart of that shared core, the kernel exposes a driver model for many of the devices and components in a phone or a slate or a laptop or a PC. When that code is in common, many of the companies that build those parts and have to author software drivers for those parts can author those drivers one time, build them to high quality, and expose that hardware goodness across a very wide range of devices.
So your mouse can work on your phone?
Desktop PC, to a thin, easy to use, great battery life slate, down to a low-cost Windows Phone. Again, everyone benefits. The quality improves, the performance improves, the time to market improves. It's efficient for the ecosystem and good for consumers, developers, and hardware partners. Now, what I'm going to do for about the next 45 minutes or so is take you through a little bit of a tour of 8 new platform announcements that form really the foundation of Windows Phone 8 and deliver features and benefits to all of those audiences on the basis of this new shared core. What we are not doing today is disclosing all of the end user features. We have some pretty cool things to talk about that you're not going to get to hear about today.
When do we get to hear about?
What we're going to do instead is focus on the platform and how that improves things for consumers, developers, and hardware vendors.
And again,
so
as Mary Jo pointed out, it's a developer
summit.
summit.
The tour of 8. We'll
And 8
start
announcements.
Number 1, Windows Phone 8 will support the latest and greatest hardware this fall.
All right.
The shared core with its kernel, in particular, has been optimized for, over the course of many years, multi-core chips.
There you go,
In
Iyaz.
fact, the
Everybody
shared kernel that we'll be
just
shipping in
crapped on Windows Phone for not
has
being able to do
already been
multi-core.
run
You,
on
be quiet.
64-core
That would be me,
machines
yes.
on Windows desktop PCs
crapping.
and servers. This is a great architecture that's been optimized over years, and the experience that people have had on Windows Phone single-core devices in the past is going to get much, much better as it runs on dual-core devices and beyond in the future. The work that we've been doing so far in building Windows Phone 8 has been focused on dual core for this fall. And we're doing all the kinds of optimization and performance enhancements on multi-core first for Windows 8 devices so that consumers get the real benefit of battery life and great performance on their new Windows Phone 8 devices. The next thing we're doing in terms of hardware enhancements is scaling up our support for screen resolutions.
Well, all right.
When we launched Windows Phone 7, we picked one screen resolution. And we did that in large part to give the ecosystem focus on a single target. So it would be easier for ISVs to implement apps that would be known to work great on every Windows phone. We feel that now is the right time to expand that screen resolution, so we're moving up and adding 2 new resolutions, both in high definition.
Now, does
We'll be
having
adding a
the
standard
unified
720p
core make
screen
that concern
resolution
about
and
apps
even
less of a
higher
problem?
res
as you can
WXGA,
scale
you can
them?
sort of think of that as 720p plus with its 768 lines of resolution
core,
when you're
not
in
unified.
landscape mode.
Probably in the same way that
We made
Windows
a very
8 does it.
intentional choice here and have made sure that we have the graphics hardware support so that all of the existing Windows Phone 7.5 apps will run great with no modification on these new resolutions.
That's the key.
If you're a developer, your app is going to run and look terrific, and I'm going to show you some examples of this later. The resolution change is invisible to you. Now, of course, if you want to go exploit the new resolution, you're welcome to do that, and we make that possible, but it's not necessary. As an end user, all the things that you would expect to work still work, but your experience just gets better. Third, we're introducing removable micro SD support as a core part of the platform. And this core micro SD support
Why are you laughing?
spans both the PC and the phone.
Alex
the
is
scenarios are valuable
Everyone
both
else
to
has it.
consumers.
Well, this is the thing.
but
I
also
think this is what
developers
Microsoft's
and
waiting for, to
hardware
get that
vendors.
kernel in place,
What
get the
this
core in place.
enables
Now we
that's
can introduce
different than
all
what
the other
Windows
things that
Phone
should be there.
7.5
Right.
has
This
today.
introduce more flexibility.
Is that an
Absolutely.
end user can add a micro SD card months after they buy the phone, expanding their storage, and then they can use it to transfer content from their PC to their phone, from phone to phone, can be used as a distribution vehicle for apps, and it supports all these things in a very natural, integrated way in the Metro experience. We didn't want to deliver this feature until we could do it in a way that would be easy to use, predictable, and high performant, and we think we've got that nailed in Windows Phone 8. Not only does this help consumers, but it helps our hardware vendors and mobile operators as well, because it lets them range and stock phones in stores that are lower cost at time of purchase, because they don't need to put as much storage in the phone to begin with. If a user needs it, they can always add it later.
Although I always find that
So
inconvenient.
these are
frankly.
3 important things that are going to help
on the sticker
Windows
price,
Phone
it's less of a
scale
shock.
up
Yeah.
That's
and
what
scale
they're going
down
for.
on great new hardware this fall. I mentioned some of the core technologies that are shared in this shared core, the kernel, networking, multimedia. One of the areas that we've actually been doing code sharing for a while is in our number 2 platform feature, IE10. Once again this year, we will have the latest and greatest Internet Explorer built into Windows Phone 8, and that core HTML rendering and JavaScript technology is the same between Windows on your slate or your laptop or your desktop and Windows on your phone. It's the same rendering, which means that HTML authors, website authors, can author once, test on Windows PCs or laptops or slates, and know that the same markup in JavaScript will work on the phone.
Now, it also means that the same malware that can attack Windows 8 can attack Windows Phone, but also the same defenses
we've added new benefits
can
for
work in both places.
End users and web authors is, for end users, we're including the smart screen anti-phishing technology that's part of Internet Explorer today. And I'll show you that a little bit later and talk about that benefit. For web authors, though, equally good for end users, the biggest change is our support for the HTML5 standard, filling that out even more, particularly this year including touch support, and improving our JavaScript performance. In fact, our JavaScript performance has gotten so good that we are proud to show the SunSpider measurement. This is in milliseconds, so lower is better. Here's how Windows Phone 8's current builds of IE10 stack up against current phone competition. And these are no slouch phones. These are fast, powerful, dual-core phones in general here. And this is Windows 8 performing against them on similar dual-core hardware.
Lou MM in the chat room says Windows Phone 8 will have a registry.
Internet Explorer technology from the line of desktop to laptop to slate to phone all improve and be part of the benefit that all our customers will get this fall with Windows Phone 8.
Who's saying that Windows Phone 7 doesn't have a registry?
If you think about the web as kind of a platform where web authors are writing web apps and delivering applications to users,
7.5 does.
The fact of the code being the same, creating benefit for those web developers. Well, there's another class of developers that we have big, exciting news for as a result of the shared core. And that is native code developers.
Ooh.
And in particular, go ahead, it's all right. If you're a native code developer and you've been waiting for this, we're happy to hear that you're
What does this mean, Mary Jo?
The biggest effect that
so this is just like Windows 8, right? They're trying to get people who write games to go with native code like C++ and C instead of using XNA, which is something they've traditionally let you do if you're a game developer.
But there are a whole lot of benefits that come out of a shared architecture between Windows on PCs and laptops and slates and Windows on the phone. They both share DirectX. They both share common graphics drivers. And what this means is a game developer who authors an unbelievable, detail-rich, immersive, compelling game experience for the PC has a super easy port of their native game to the phone. And with our shared core, we're going to be scaling up the capability of that phone hardware. So you're going to see some beefy, powerful phones running some amazing games this year.
Although those cheap phones that they now have the flexibility to make won't be able to handle those games, so that could cause some confusion.
With those more expensive phones with the HD displays, you're going to see some really cool stuff.
Complex apps on iOS
wide swath of prices.
Using
like
those
$99,
platforms'
maybe $59 to $299.
And today it's more difficult than we or they would like to move those apps to Windows Phone. It's been a little bit of drag on us getting some apps, but with native code support, suddenly portability becomes much more easy for developers with that kind of investment. The net of this, in our opinion, is that we will see more apps, we'll see bigger, important apps coming faster, and we're going to see some unbelievably beautiful and immersive games running on Windows Phone like no games we've seen before. Going back to sort of hardware, there's another hardware feature that we're enabling that spans benefit from end user to hardware vendor to developer, and that is support for native NFC.
I'm an NFC skeptic.
I raise
I'm not
this
sure
as a comment
anybody's
as
making
part
good
of the
use of
shared
it.
It's better to have it than not.
Because
the thing is, if somebody's saying the Nexus has it and you don't,
the shared Windows core supports NFC hardware and enables NFC scenarios between phones and laptops, slates, and PCs. And later on, I'm going to give you a demo of some of the specific things that we're enabling both in our built-in experience and with third-party apps because of the great, simple connectivity that's made possible via NFC.
That NFC is quite popular around the world.
NFC is kind of a good segue to another good platform benefit, and that is Windows Phone 8 will include what we think will be the most complete wallet experience on any smartphone this fall.
Everybody wants to have a wallet.
Let me tell you a
Sports
little bit
NFC
about
tap to
what I
pay.
mean and why we think this is going to be the most complete wallet experience. If you think about the goal of a wallet on a phone, our new wallet hub probably has the same goal as any other wallet on any other phone, which is to effectively replace the physical wallet that you might have in your pocket. And that physical wallet does
This is
a number of
essentially the
things.
same as
It
iOS's
stores
PassPlay,
your credit
but with
cards,
credit
your
and debit cards.
It stores your membership cards,
Passbook's like loyalty
your
cards,
AAA or your
tickets.
frequent flyer.
This is much
it
more on
stores
par with
things
Google
like
Wallet.
coupons. It lets you take them out and pay for things. Our wallet does all of that.
Doesn't do
It
tickets,
both
though, it doesn't sound.
integrates third-party services into the wallet experience.
The graphic
when you
it shows
install
American
a
Airlines.
third-party
Yeah,
app. So you have one place to go
Fandango.
to see
Appears
account
like it does.
balances, to see your frequent flyer information, or to pull a coupon out to redeem it. It integrates that via a third-party app API. It also supports secure NFC payments. So if you have a phone with an NFC chip built in, and in our case, a SIM from your mobile operator that has a secure element, we call this a secure SIM. A secure SIM enables your phone to be scanned at point of sale so that you can use those cards in your wallet to make purchases and payments. Our wallet spans the full range of scenarios, including secure payment to third-party scenarios like your frequent flyer card. And one of the things that's interesting about this, as this area has developed within the smartphone within the smartphone area, we've seen Google with their wallet enable secure NFC payments by putting the secure element in the device. And an unfortunate side effect for that has been that some mobile operators have chosen to remove the Google Wallet because the mobile operators themselves want to provision those secure elements and enable their customers to maintain their secure payment instruments as they move from one phone to the next. In general,
in international
the
markets,
mobile
for sure,
operators
where people
prefer
move
the
SIM
model
cards around a
of
lot.
a secure
That makes
element
sense.
on the SIM. And in many ways, that's better for end users too, because it means easy transition from one phone to the next.
We don't do that as much
Our
here in the
model
US.
works with mobile operators to deliver secure element on the SIM, and that's different than Google's model. Like Apple's model, our wallet also provides for integration with third-party apps and services. I'm going to give you a demo of this, so everything I'm describing is going to make more sense when you see the real code in action. But before I get to that, I do want to transition over and let you hear firsthand from our lead mobile operator partner on Wallet, and that is Orange in France. Orange has been a pioneer in this area working on Wallet, and we've been partnering deeply with Orange to make sure we have the right technology and the right service infrastructure
Orange,
to
for
deliver
those
an
of you who don't
experience that'll be delightful for end users. So let's cut to a video of Yves Metra from Orange talking about our wallet.
We have been the first one in Europe to deploy the NFC transaction system. You guys, you have been able to put in the same experience something very easy and very convenient for customers. You have also been capable to align your solution with a GSMA recommendation. And more important,
Is he on
you
Skype?
provide with a SIM secure element of operator an incredible secure solution. Wallet Hub solution is exactly what developer needs in order to provide our customers a very friendly and a very safe journey towards their mobile transaction.
Some people are making cracks about
Wallet
Windows security and Microsoft security, like,
secure
oh, this will be
SIM
safe with our credit card information. Microsoft's been attacked
is
so many
really
times,
the next step
and they have a lot of
in the future
experience
of
securing your operating system. And this kind of content is something they're going to be
Let me
very
wrap
protective
this up
of.
by describing how this wallet experience will come to market in terms
They're
of
very
timing.
excited about the wallet. They're spending a lot of time on that.
Every Windows phone will include the Wallet Hub. And whether your mobile operator has secure SIMs available or not, you still get all the benefit of third-party apps and services integrating with a wallet. Orange will be the first to market with secure SIMs at launch on the Orange network, and we're working with a number of other mobile operators as well to get that same wallet experience on their networks, but they'll come later in time. In particular, I know many of you will have questions about the US. As you know, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile have a joint effort in ISIS that defines how they do wallets and payments. We've been working together closely with ISIS. We're making good progress technically, and we expect to have a solution on ISIS sometime next year, but not at launch. This is the kind of thing that will come online over time as it requires mobile operators to build back-end services that match. We have great relationships, and we expect to see that fill out over the course of next year.
Everybody's trying to crack
this. Okay, so I'm going to transition on to number 6 in terms of our 8 platform announcements, and that is that Windows Phone 8 will include Nokia's mapping technology built in. But I think there are some Nokia fans out there, or people who live in countries around the world where they know the benefit of the Nokia map data.
As you see on the slide, if you're watching the video, that's the NavTech map data that Nokia bought a few years ago.
As a result of this technology and platform change, Windows Phone around the world will have
Nokia maps are awesome.
Better detail
better than Bing
and
maps.
Complete local information in maps as a result of the NavTech map data that's built into Nokia's mapping layer.
And everybody uses maps on their phones.
Another great benefit is
so goodbye
Nokia's
Google monopoly on
work
this.
Offline.
Apple's got their own.
So as an end user, you can
Nokia
choose
NavTech
the
on
region
Windows
of the
Phone.
world, store that map data on your phone storage, which you might have added via removable SD, and then you don't have to worry about having a connection to be able to use your map. If you travel to a place where you have a poor connectivity, it's no problem. Your maps are offline. Plus, you can have better performance and potentially save on data traffic. All of this is encapsulated in a map control, which all Windows Phone software developers can use. So all of those third-party apps get the benefit of offline maps and Nokia's great mapping data. And then last, in our partnership with Nokia, Nokia is delivering turn-by-turn directions, which will be included in Windows Phone in many countries around the world. And a little later on, Kevin Shields from Nokia will be out here to talk in a bit more detail about how that looks and how that works. So that is the number 6 platform benefit that's built into Windows Phone.
Good point from The Verge. Lumia's advantage on maps goes away
then
with Windows Phone.
I'm going to address an audience
getting the revenue stream,
we really have not quite managed to address as fully as we would like. Unfortunately, for those of you who have been exposed to this audience, you know that some IT administrators have been somewhat dissatisfied with what Windows Phone 7 has had to offer for their enterprise or business.
I know Russell has.
There have been a number of gaps. We think we have them filled in Windows Phone 8, and Windows Phone 8 is ready for business. What are the gaps? Windows Phone 8 will support encryption and secure boot. So an IT administrator or an enterprise that's concerned about the safety of its corporate data on all those phones scattered around the world, they can rest easy knowing that Microsoft's well-known and proven BitLocker technology will be encrypting the contents of the device with
Mary Jo,
secure
do they get a
boot
lot of these
enabled,
benefits because of that shared
your
core, do you
data
think?
will be very safe. On a
Some,
Windows
but these some
Another
like
problem that IT administrators have asked us to
UEFI
fix is to give them
secure
the
boot, yes,
ability
from the shared
to
core for sure.
sign and deploy
This is huge for
applications
businesses.
in
The
their own
encryption thing
way
is huge
without
because that's been
needing to
a
go
big
through our
objection to
marketplace.
Windows Phone.
Windows Phone 8 enables IT administrators to set up their own line of business app deployment using whatever method they want and get their apps out to
Microsoft's
their
always
end
been
users in an
entrenched,
elegant way
in the
that you'll see
enterprise
a little
market.
bit later in
With
a
this
demo.
kind of move, with
We
Red
also are
struggling so
enabling
much, this
device
could be
management,
very big
so
for market
IT
share for Windows
administrators
Phone.
can
The
use
IT administrators will be like,
familiar
here, take your
device
Windows Phone.
management techniques and
So they bring
tools
your
that
own
they're
device.
already using today to manage Windows PCs to also manage Windows phones. And of course, Windows phones are known for and will continue to be known for their inclusion of the familiar and excellent Microsoft Office apps that make end users' lives better and connect up to SharePoint servers so that you have a complete
Office apps, that's huge too.
client-to-service experience in terms of your online documents. We've been talking to a bunch of IT folks, and they're excited about this change. Later on, you're going to get to see a demo and see more specifics. Where the shared core really has played a huge role in making Windows Phone great for businesses. We had waited until we could get to the point where that proven Windows technology would be part of our offering, and this fall is the time. Now last, I got one more platform feature, and I have to admit, I'm going to be stretching a little bit here to call it a platform feature. You might want to call me on it, but that's okay.
But we need an 8
anyway.
because it's Windows Phone 8.
The reason why is I'm an end user guy, and there's an end user feature that we've been working on, which really does have platform implications. And it aligns with Windows 8. But from my point of view, it's an end user feature. And it's frankly, I think, the sexiest thing in Windows Phone 8.
He seems very excited.
Spit it out, Joe.
But I want to show it to you. And I think it's something that none of you have seen so far. We're changing the start screen. And for us, this is a big deal because the start screen is sort of the core of the Metro experience. So let me take you on a tour of what's going to be new here for end users in the new start screen.
How do you feel about this?
It starts with a tile.
Let's go.
I want to see it.
Our tiles are special because they're alive. They're a way to see things about your data that's constantly changing. And these live tiles are the heart and soul, in our opinion, of Windows Phone.
Sometimes with hilarious consequences.
Simple and elegant thing, but it's really powerful, and no other phone has these tiles. When someone starts putting their stuff into one of our phones, it officially becomes their phone from the inside out in a more profound way than any other smartphone does. It literally gets powered by their passions and interests, by their likes and their loves, and the things and people they care about most.
They're going to drop it for icons.
We know that our users really love their phones. And we think the biggest reason is that live tiles make the phone so special and so personal. It's like a unique fingerprint that reflects each and every part of it.
They can't. Windows 8 look.
These live tiles are essentially the face of Windows Phone. And in Windows Phone 8, we're going to make that face more beautiful and even more personal.
Drop shadows.
So I am pretty happy to introduce to you today
Comic Sans.
the new Windows Phone 8 start screen.
Folders.
Maybe.
Our users have told us they want it to be more customizable and personal, and we've listened. We're putting people in total control of their live tiles.
No right rail.
Now, not only can they pin the stuff they want, whether it's a person or an app, they can also set the size of any tiles. If they're really into text and SMS, they can make the messaging tile really big.
This is called resizable widgets.
If they're not so into email, you can shrink the email down to a small size so you can not have to deal with as many large things on your screen.
The small thing is huge.
If you're a power user, you can get lots of apps and tiles on your screen and reduce the
screen resolutions. This is going to get better.
That's necessary, and all of those tiles are still live. No other phone can do anything like this. The result is that Windows Phone is even more personal than it has been in the past, and that's pretty darn personal. So now people won't just be buying a phone, it'll be Tom, the music lover.
The gutter's gone too on the right. You know, there was an empty gutter
Laura,
before.
the social butterfly, getting a social butterfly phone. There's Anna, the bookworm, with her bookworm phone, and Dave, the sports nut, with his configured for sports phone.
Nut.
Robin, the news junkie, has her news junkie phone, and Mike Jones, the accountant by day but gamer by night,
says, "Where's one
has
for Alex, the Flowmaster?"
precisely Mike Jones.
I want beer phone. Where's the beer phone?
Yeah.
It's the best of what Windows Phone is today, and we're building it to be even better.
With the Untapped app
precisely
right on the front.
and deeply personal for you. So now that you've seen their phones, I want to give you a demo of my phone. So I'm going to walk over here.
You're watching Windows Phone 8 Developer Summit. Breaking news coverage live here on TWiT. We're with Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com, Iyaz Akhtar from Tech News Today, and Alex Gumpel, our resident Windows Phone fan. We're going to take you right back and see this demo right away, but I just want to thank our sponsor, Slingbox, letting you watch your home TV anywhere you go in the world. Control and watch your DVR. Don't have to pay for extra special services. Hook it up to your internet. Hook it up to your home TV. You don't have to pay anything extra once you've paid for it. Let's get back to the announcement. Thanks to Slingbox for bringing us breaking news coverage.
Windows Phone 8 platform. This is a dual-core device. It has a high-resolution screen. It has NFC built in. I'm going to show you many of those
makes Windows Phone 7 look like a stopgap.
Let me go over here. I also have a
they
Windows
really wanted
8
to put together.
Slate.
That's what I always thought.
Unlock this, and I will tell you, this Windows 8 Slate is also not any particular hardware. This is not a Surface. Our Surface devices have all been in LA for the Surface launch that just happens, and so we don't have any of them here today. You're looking at a standard Samsung Windows 8 Slate here. But let me talk about this live tiles thing just for a little bit. The intent in our changing the Live Tiles support in Windows Phone 8 was not just to make Live Tiles more personal, but to give a consistent experience between Windows 8 Live Tiles and Windows Phone 8. So as a matter of example, those of you who have used Windows 8 are familiar with how this works. I can choose any tile as an end user and do customization like making those tiles smaller. And of course, as you'd expect, I can choose any tile and I can move these tiles around on the screen as you've seen on Windows Phone as well. It's the idea of putting the user in control of their tiles. And similarly, I can now have control of my tiles on the phone. So I'm going to go through a few simple steps here and show you exactly how this works. So like you saw in the video, first thing I'm going to do is I'll go into customization mode, same as today, press and hold, and I'm going to increase the size of my messaging tile, just as you saw in the video. It's as easy as touching that resize arrow there. I like that tile big because I'm into texts. So now what I'm going to do is switch over here and change the size of the phone tile. I'm going to make it small. Of course, it stays live in its small size. And I'm going to put it into the space I vacated with the messaging tile. Now I'm going to scroll down here and start to emphasize the people in my life that I care about most.
He's got
so I'm going to make Terry big.
Spot up at the
maybe
left.
Not that big. We'll choose the happy medium size for Terry so I can see when he's bugging me with texts or messages or emails or calls. Then I'm going to take my Skype tile that's got orphaned down here and slide it up here into the offset layout position. You can see how I've got my medium tiles offset if I like a little bit more of an alternate perspective on life.
No Skype tile or
I'm going to
no
go
Skype
down here to the me tile. Same me tile you've seen today, but I'm going to shrink it to the small size because I already know what I am up to. I don't need to use more space on myself. And I'm going to take the #1 most important person in my life, my wife Christina, and slide her up here into the pole position. So as she does
that's what he was leaving
Facebook
the space
posts,
for.
LinkedIn posts, sends me texts, calls me, I'm going to get all of those notifications right there on her live tile at the top of my screen. Very straightforward, consistent with what Windows Phone users are already doing today, but enables much more personal layouts and capability. And by the way, for those of you that have asked for more colors, we're delivering more colors too.
Thank God.
Now let me scroll down, and you'll see down here towards the bottom of my start menu, I've taken advantage of this to maybe add a little bit more personality in my own phone's layout. Up there at the top, you can see I've put pictures of all my kids. I've got a little games area I set up with the Games Hub and some third-party apps and games I've posted. And one of the things I want to point out in particular, if you look at the Groupon tile or these two weather tiles, these are current Windows Phone 7.5 apps that are unmodified and installed and running as part of Windows Phone 8. And their live tiles, which were originally authored for a different size, are running and look terrific on this high-res screen.
Lance in the chat room was like, am I going to have to code new live tiles for every size? Apparently not.
Including live tiles in the new Start experience. But what I want to show you is, here's an example of an app that's been updated to support the new live tile sizes. In particular, that's Nokia Drive. You can see here I've got the Nokia Drive tile in small size, but when I resize, I can go to a full large size tile, and now the app has a much bigger canvas for giving me notifications or graphic information, and we've made this API set much more rich, so software developers can do even more interesting things on Windows Phone 8 than they could on Windows Phone 7.5. I can also resize that to the medium size, and one of the things you see here, the tile changes its display to match the size I choose, and when I'm done with that, I'm going to put it back to the small size so I maintain the visual integrity of my layout for the rest of the demo. The point is, it is a platform feature.
Yeah, because it was kind of ugly with
we think software developers are going to be thrilled to put new benefit into and give end users great new ways to learn about the features and benefits of their apps and be drawn into using their apps even more. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is some parts of that core technology platform and show you a little bit about how the developer experience and end user experience is improved by that code that is in common between Windows Phone and Windows PCs. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go down and open the Terry Meyerson tile, where you can see Terry has been communicating with me a bit. If I scroll down, you can see
it's in a deceptive case, so no one knows it's the new phone.
Well, let's take a look at this, because I want to talk about IE10 and the shared core parts of IE10 and how the IE10 user experience takes advantage of its scale across the PC and the phone. So here's Terry sending me this mail. Hey, Joe, do you think this is real? It's from probably not Bill Gates at contextualmail.com. Subject, $1 million. I found this site that lets you instantly sign up to win $1 million in cash. Now, Terry is actually a moderately tech-savvy user, as you might expect, running the Windows Phone group. So it's not likely that Terry
Hotmail didn't kill your spam, huh, Terry?
Into clicking on this link and have some malicious website do something to him. But unfortunately, there really are a lot of people who click these things, and it causes people to create more of them. I happen to know this as a fact because people in my family really do send me emails like this asking me this question.
That's a good point.
Sorry, Mom. That's true. But what happens in Windows Phone 8, because of IE10's huge network of end users, is that when I click the link, IE10 detects that this website has been reported on as unsafe. And actually, I'm going to launch a similar website on my slate.
Never click those links, by the way. He's doing this for demonstration purposes.
On the slate, on the laptop, and on the PC. This is the network of all of those devices with common code and a common service protecting the user against malicious sites that seek to steal their identity or do other kinds of bad things with their
this is the double-edged sword.
And now
you get protection that's written once and runs everywhere, but malware that can be written once and runs everywhere. So the arms race always continues.
The next thing I want to show is an example of how
Microsoft only has to do one patch.
HTML and JavaScript componentry makes websites incredibly performant and compatible between the phone and the Windows PC. So I'm going to scroll down here where I've got a site set as a live tile. This site is called the Fountain of Apps. This is an HTML5 site that takes advantage of the new HTML5 support in IE10 on the desktop and on the phone and gives the user an awesome visual, high-performance
That is not the new Windows Store.
The apps that are now
you have to catch your app.
And one of the cool things about the HTML5 support that we're getting from this shared code and that's implemented in Windows Phone 8 is its support for touch events. So you can see as I touch on this, there's this cool 3D visualization I can do and spin the fountain around. I can let it run again, spin the fountain around, and it's very smooth, fast and fluid, high performant. It's that hardware acceleration.
As one of those good demo apps. You would never need this in real life.
Microsoft's showing off some really cool stuff with IE10 in general, like a lot of animations, fish bowls, and things you usually don't have there, but it's about the potential.
Gives benefits because the same technology runs on the PC.
That's the new start screen, says Krista.
The next thing I want to show, having talked about IE as a means for web developers to create websites on common code, is to talk about application writers and how they can take advantage of that common code to make it much easier to target apps for both the PC and the phone. And actually, in this case, I'm going to start on the Windows 8 slate. And what I'm going to do is move over here. We've installed, if you look right here, I've got a tile for the Windows SDK DirectX Marble Maze game. This is a game sample that ships as part of the Windows 8 SDK. It's been in the SDK for a while. Those of you who are developers and have tried the SDK have seen Marble Maze already. I'm going to show you how this looks.
Marble Maze is pretty.
It's a game that uses DirectX. So you get all the hardware accelerated benefits of DirectX. There's textures. It uses the accelerometer for motion. It's pretty straightforward. Here it is running on my PC. And many of you have seen this already because it's part of the SDK. But what I want to show you, what I want to show you is that same SDK sample moved with incredibly small code changes
but code
to run
changes
on the phone as well.
Okay.
And so here I am with Marble Maze on my phone. And, you know, the exciting news is that it looks just like Marble Maze on the PC, and it plays just like Marble Maze on the PC. And it was an incredibly easy effort to take that SDK sample and get it running on the phone in a high-performant, ultra-smooth kind of way. And the reason why is that the same DirectX componentry, graphics support, exists on the PC and the phone. It's so easy for developers to move because all the complicated parts of their apps just work. The things that you need to consider in moving from one device to another is really the form factor change. There's a smaller screen. You have to think a little bit about touch resolution. In the case of this marble maze game, because it's based on the accelerometer, there's really almost no changes made. So suddenly, with Windows Phone 8 and that shared core, taking an app from the PC to the phone, very straightforward.
That's very cool, and I'm sure that'll be a big benefit for a lot of developers. I want to see a more impressive example of that. I want to see something like a shooter or a side-scroller, pretty, you know.
That is enabled through
and that seems like it'd be fun for general consumers, but I'm thinking about just the productivity apps that can move over much easier. There's a ton of applications that can move that don't require such changes.
Because I have the April edition.
You can reuse a lot of code, they're saying.
This is the real April edition. We didn't do anything to change
they have a magazine
it. Bookmark, so I could flip quickly to the Lexus ad here that was part of Wired magazine. What's interesting about this Lexus ad is that it's an NFC-enabled ad.
Okay.
So I can take my Windows phone, and what I'm going to do is simply touch it to the paper here, watch the screen up there on the phone. Voila. The phone has detected the ad. It says, would you like to receive content? Someone is sharing a website from GQ.com with you. I'm going to ignore that right now. You've seen the browser already, but trust if I clicked accept, you would see the website. Instead, what I want to do is broaden your thinking about what kinds of scenarios NFC can enable. That's a simple one, and that one will work across phones. So it really
since QCat, nobody has wanted to do that.
NFC tags in places
but notice you didn't have to launch an application or set up NFC. It just went from the start screen. That's a little different.
Each one of which is an NFC tag. You can touch one. It provides a link to our marketplace to open the app. Or you're in a bar with a sign that says, need to get a cab, tap here to text, or make a phone call. We can execute those things as well. And what I have here in my hand is a business card. This business card belongs to John Scovrin, who is the group program manager responsible for NFC. And what you could predictably imagine that our real-world leader has done is put an NFC tag into his business card. So if I take his business card and just press it to the back of my phone here, you'll see the phone pops up and says, receive content. Someone is sharing a contact with you. I can choose accept. In this case, I'm going to actually show you how this works. And there's all the contact information that was stored in that NFC tag, very easily found by Windows Phone, detected. I click accept.
At this point, he's just showing the features of NFC in general. If you didn't ever use it before, you'll be able to do this.
I want to know how to secure this, too. I mean, obviously, there's a setting to turn it off, but how can I easily only have it work when I want it to work and not get...
But imagine that being the general settings, turn NFC off, because if you accidentally drop your phone on a magazine, you don't want 15 pop-ups coming up.
Connected cloud in a matter of like 2 clicks. Very easy, very straightforward, really making those kinds of tasks super simple for people. And now that I have that content on my phone, I want you to think about my ability to use NFC to move things from my phone to other devices. I might move them to other phones, or I might move them from my phone to my PC. So what I'm going to do here is pop up down in the bottom of my contact card. We have a menu item called Share Contact. And we've had this sharing, I'm going to confirm that I want to share this. We've had this sharing menu for a while. It exists in lots of places in Windows Phone. You can share a photo. You can share a website. There's lots of things you can share. And what's new is the consistent addition of tap and send to our sharing command. So tap and send now becomes a universal way to share stuff on Windows Phone with any other device. I'm going to choose
any other NFC-enabled device.
Right, so if you have a Windows 8 device that has NFC, you just want to move data over, you don't have to like copy URL and text it over to yourself and just tap.
And what I want you to do is watch my Windows 8 slate up there in the upper right.
It's like what the HP touchpad had with the Pre. You can just tap them together and move content.
It's like beaming in infrared.
But I think Microsoft has the power behind it that they can make this work.
So you don't have to align things,
really well.
Beaming there we go. It says receive content, tap to receive content from another device. And the experience is the same basic idea. I get notified, I can accept, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through that on the Windows 8 slate. Rest assured, you could do that with many content types.
I would like to thank Microsoft for abandoning the term squirt at this point.
Yes.
Tap to share, much better.
I think they abandoned that years ago.
Yep.
But what I want to show you is how not only
putting
how
that with the
our
Zoom team,
built-in software
just
experience
relabeling you.
makes these kinds of transfers easy, I also want to show you how a third-party app can take advantage of all this. So what I'm going to do is launch an app. And I must tell you in advance, this is the riskiest part of my demo.
Uh-oh. Get ready, folks.
I have prototype hardware and an unfinished software build running on 2 different devices.
That's gutsy.
It might not work, but we're going to give it a try.
He's setting it up, at least. That's good.
I'm launching this game called Spell It, and I want to tell you the story of Spell It. We've been starting to communicate these platform features to some of our ISVs, getting people to try them out and give us feedback and help to get some demos done so we could show them at an event like this. And we reached out to the authors of Spell It. This is a real app in the Windows Phone marketplace today. We reached out to these authors and said, hey, are you guys interested in trying to change your app for this event? This was I think it was about 10 days ago. They said, sure. And in 2 days of work, they took their Windows Phone app and ported it to Windows 8 and added support for NFC. So what I've got here, I've run Spell It. I'm going to click New Game. And once I click New Game, I can start a game with somebody else by taking my phone. Imagine my wife is using this slate here. I'm going to touch this to the back of my slate, and up there, same spot, upper right, it says Start an App. Tap to start Spell It. So I'll click right there, and what's happening is Spell It is launching a session. It's creating a connection over peer-to-peer Wi-Fi. So if I were in the middle of the
Why can't I just do it over Wi-Fi? Why do I need the NFC?
So you don't have to find the device and say ad hoc with Tom's computer. I mean, AirDrop does a similar thing with Mac OS X. You kind of have to do a lot more active work versus going, they're next to each other. They should work together. It's a small thing. Like Bluetooth's the same. So I'm all for it.
8 plus a bonus. I'll
Less
click
user
play,
interactivity.
and voila, Dank shows up on the Windows 8 slate. Now, the operative fact, in my opinion, is that a developer who already had an app in the Windows Phone marketplace, that app would run fine on Windows Phone 8. In 2 days of work, ported the app to Windows 8 and added a peer-to-peer device scenario, greatly enhancing the capability of their app and making end users a lot more happy in the process. And it's a great illustration of how that shared core lights up benefits for developers, but for end users too. And it's a good example of
does
how
seem
the
like
new
pretty fast
hardware
turnaround
support
time, I
in
gotta say.
NFC makes everyday scenarios a lot easier.
So all
the
apps will be
last
made
thing
in
that I
10
want
days.
to show in my demo
No, that is not the takeaway.
I want to give you a look at how the
Microsoft
wallet
promises
spans
all
a
apps.
wide range of features and scenarios. So I'm going to scroll down here where you'll see I've got my wallet tile. And I'm going to open up the wallet and show you on my personal phone how the wallet is storing a bunch of stuff that I would ordinarily store in the real wallet I'd carry in my pocket. And what you see here is 2 lists of things. At the left, there's an all list.
Guys, I may
of a whole
leave
bunch
you
of
soon.
different,
No problem, Mary Jo. Thank you for sticking with us through this.
is a list of
Yeah,
deals.
I need to eat lunch.
No, I understand.
You might have cut out of the paper.
Yeah, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys letting me guest with you.
Before we let you go, though, give us your impressions based on what you've seen so far. What do you think?
And you can see
Yeah.
I've got
So I just posted on my site a post said Windows 8, the good news and the bad news. And the good news is a ton of new stuff for consumers, for business users, like all the good kernel stuff. I'm really happy about all that. The big bad news, which they haven't announced here yet, but they're letting us tell people, is you cannot put this operating system on any existing Windows phones, which was rumored and expected, but yep, no upgrade.
Yeah, this is the line in the sand. And so,
Yep, this is the line in the sand. The one thing that you'll get to upgrade is the people who have Windows phones now will get something called Windows Phone 7.8, which it will give you the new tiles, the ability to have the multiple tiles on there and get rid of the gutter and the look and feel. But that's the only thing you're going to get.
All right. Well, you can read more about that at allaboutmicrosoft.com if you want the rest of Mary Jo's impressions. And, of course, you'll be back on Thursday with Paul Thurrott and Leo talking about this on Windows Weekly.
We will.
All right. Go have a beer at lunch. You deserve it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Mary Jo.
bye.
Thank you.
This is our breaking coverage of the Windows Phone Developers Summit brought to you by Slingbox. Slingbox is different. Some companies say they let your system watch TV everywhere or anywhere, but Slingbox actually does it. You buy the box, you install the apps. You don't have to give an inch. Everything that's on your home TV, everything that's on your DVR, you can control and watch anywhere you got an internet connection. Slingbox works with the iPad, smartphone, iPod Touch, laptop, tablet. Get started with Slingbox today. Anywhere you get an internet connection, you can watch all your TV that you pay for at home. Slingbox is available at Best Buy and Amazon. Learn more at slingbox.com/twit. Take you back to Joe Belfiore, who is demonstrating some of the new elements for developers. This is a developer-focused announcement for Windows Phone 8. Just to catch you up if you're just joining us, Windows Phone 8 will ship by the holidays. And the big news is a shared common core, shared core with Windows 8. So it should be easier to write for Windows 8 for the tablet, Windows 8 for the phone when Windows Phone 8 comes. No upgrade path for current Windows Phone users, though. That's a bummer. There will be a Windows Phone 7.8. Mary Jo Foley has a little bit of information about that up at allaboutmicrosoft.com. I see Paul Thurrott's got some preview information about it as well up at winsupersite.com. The embargoes have lifted, so all the journalists are publishing all this.
And publish really quickly. This is some exciting stuff. This is Microsoft introducing an operating system that they wanted to introduce when they first introduced Windows Phone at all. Now it looks like Windows Phone 7 is kind of a dead end. If you have a Windows Phone 7 device, it'll keep running. You'll get some new features like these new customizable tiles, excuse me. But this is going to allow Windows Phone to run on some high-end hardware, some low-end hardware. It'll have a lot more app support. It's going to also help bolster the Windows RT environment. There's a lot of things that this impacts, and this is a very impressive showing.
Native code for developers, so we should see some more impressive apps made for Windows Phone, hopefully. They showed off a marble game, which didn't blow me away, but at least it was apparently fast to port over. Alex, what do you think so far?
I'm excited for it. It's kind of what I was expecting, but yeah.
No consumer announcements, so you still don't know about whether it's going to be on Verizon. There's probably still some more consumer-facing features.
But the whole thing with the changing the core out with the Windows 8 core and kind of unifying that experience is kind of what I was expecting, and I'm glad to see that that's what happened.
Now, Alex, are you miffed that your current Windows Phone device cannot take advantage of all this?
No, because my phone is no good.
Wait a minute! I thought you loved your phone.
Yeah, but it's underpowered. It's old hardware. It's just
by the time
this comes out, I'm going to be due for an upgrade anyway. So
I gotcha.
Time out perfectly.
Yeah. So everybody who's all about specs they can't argue that anymore because this new version of Windows Phone will be able to take advantage of all of that. And the question is performance. It looks like from the demos, it's very snappy. Also with the shared core has security functions that would make it very enterprise friendly. So another market that Windows Phone can grow in, and that's very impressive.
And Curtis B in the chat room has a good point. A clean break may be a problem for existing phone users, but Microsoft's problem isn't existing phone users. It's getting those new users. It's taking users from Android and from iOS.
You're familiar with Local Scout, which takes a neighborhood or an area and suggests things like places to eat and drink. And
so he's going through the new Windows Phone 8 wallet function right now. This is Joe Belfiore. He's the manager of the Windows Phone program at Microsoft.
Many of them have deals, and that's the line there in white.
But he's showing off the Local Scout right now.
Beers on tap. This place is rated 4.5 stars. I can click it. I'm going to look at the place card, which gives me information about this, helps me find it, get directions, and so on. But what I want to do actually is tap that deal, because that deal seems interesting to me. And now I've opened up something that's new in Windows Phone 8, the deal card. The deal card is like a representation of a digital coupon.
It's a coupon.
Here you can see this deal.
It's not like a representation of a digital coupon.
Share it with other people.
It's a coupon.
I can pin it to my start menu as a tile. But what I'm going to do instead is, right up there at the top, you see it says Save for Later. I'm going to add it to my wallet. I click that. Now that deal has been saved in my wallet. And if I use the phone, navigate around, and then later on, I'm going to imagine that I've showed up at that coffee shop, and it's time for me to redeem my deal. I click on the wallet, pan over, and there's my Cafe Sapore item down at the bottom of the list, and I can redeem it in one of the ways as I showed you earlier.
Now, I know we've got Lance, we've got Lou, we've got a few developers in this chat room right now. Curious what you guys think of this so far as a developer. Is this, if you're a current Windows Phone developer, going to make it easier for you? Are you excited about this? Or if you're not, are you thinking, oh, maybe I will develop for Windows Phone now?
Now, the last thing I want to show in
last thing I want to show you is buffering. No, that's actually not a feature.
And it uses it for financial transactions that happen
Got a backup
on
stream.
the phone. As I mentioned, you could use it for financial transactions in the real world, but I don't have a device today with a secure NFC card to show a real-world payment. So instead, what you're seeing is all the benefits you get if you don't yet, or your mobile operator does not yet have one of those SIMs. I'm going to go into settings here, because as the place where you would store all your financial information or your financial transaction cards, one of the things that makes sense to do is for the wallet.
Sasha's not sure yet.
PIN.
Needs to see the
So I'm going
SDK.
into wallet settings, and I'm going to add the ultra secure PIN 1111. Don't tell anyone. I'll try hard not to lose this phone. And I'm going to check the box to use the wallet PIN to protect any purchases that I make on the phone. So now, if I try to access my wallet, or if I try to go to the marketplace and buy an app, I have to put in the wallet PIN. If I'm one of those people that doesn't want to have a
Lou
PIN
didn't
for my
develop
whole
for Windows Phone before because
but
it
I
lacked the
don't want
hardware
someone
support
who's
and other
borrowing money to
components,
be able
which
to
made him angry. That's
buy
gone.
things.
He says, I will be developing in many
I wanna give
apps
you-
on
I
my
wanna show
own
you
now.
how this works in a real example. But in the process of doing that, I'm going to show you something else that's new in the platform for Windows Phone 8. So I've gone here and launched an app.
And
from a
Daggermer34
company
points
called
out a lot
Inrix.
of Windows 8 developers won't make a Windows Phone 8 port, increasing the number of apps on the phone. I mean, there's no reason they won't make a port because it's not as difficult, it's not as complicated. So that should increase the apps in the Windows Store.
Yeah, Microsoft's been very friendly to Android developers as well, trying to get their apps ported over. They have a lot of tools for that kind of thing. So being able to say, hey, if you're running Windows 8, if you want to build an app for Windows 8, you can also bring it over to Windows Phone very easily. It's going to just be I'm going to use the word. It's a good synergy. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
And now our platform UI is being displayed. Inrix has called out to Windows Phone and says, hey, can you make a transaction for me in the following amount? Now, I just put a PIN on my wallet, so before I can buy the Pro version of Inrix, I've got to put in my wallet PIN, and here's our wallet UI giving me the option to confirm this purchase.
I still like geofencing better than NFC, I have to say.
Choose which card in my wallet I want to use to pay for this item. You saw.
There's no reason a geofencing app couldn't run on that as well. You just have an
yeah, Square can make an app for this, no problem.
For purchases on the phone.
Lance says he's very excited with the features like Tap. Lets it easily share files without too much brain power for the less advanced users. I am kind of happy about the small tiles, but more important, I am thrilled about the dual core as I can now make the apps I do for Android. I think we should have mentioned that earlier too. The fact that it can support multi-cores is going to be huge, a huge advantage over Windows Phone 7.
Who use this in-app purchasing capability. We actually think this is a pretty big deal because if you think about the kinds of ways that mobile developers are monetizing their apps today, in-app purchase is a big one, and it's growing. And we think that once we enable this, we'll see the rate of apps in our marketplace continue to increase as we give developers this next very important way
Developers
to
want to charge you from within the app. That's absolutely true. That's gonna make more developers willing to develop.
Up my live demo of actual working Windows Phone 8 code. I do have one more thing that I want to show in conclusion as part of my demo. But this is a video. And what we tried to do was write some real code. So what you're going to see in the video is not fake mocked up stuff. This is a real app that we wrote both for the phone and for Windows 8 that shows how a software developer can solve a real world problem for a family using the shared core between the phone and a slate. And so I'm going to show you the experience that a family might have as they go out to lunch at a local cafe.
Oh, boy.
Let's run the video.
Microsoft makes some pretty cheesy family videos. Let's see how they did this time.
This is the cheesy family. That's Mom Cheesy.
So the audio, you're not going to be able to see any of this, but it's, a couple outside of a restaurant trying to decide where they're going to go, comparing details. Kids eat free.
As it says on the chalkboard.
On the chalkboard. They didn't get that from the phone. So they're tapping to share contact info over NFC.
That's not bad. What's your phone number? Just
yeah.
That's why they had to show that.
I mean, that is a cool demonstration, but again, did they need to do that to be able to sit down and eat at the restaurant? The menu's on the phone. That's nice. One thing they got, so they got that menu faster. That's cool. The kids are ordering based on pictures. They're never going to learn to read now.
Well, there is text above the pictures.
They're passing the phones around. I think all of the kids should have their own phones.
Or they should have a 22-inch phone or tablet.
Or a big tablet, yeah.
That explains what we saw at Computex.
Right. Oh, they were sitting waiting to be seated, looking at the menu, and now they've already got their order in, so as soon as they sit down, they get their food.
The kids don't have to wait. That's for every parent, that is a selling feature right there. That should just be available. You can just ask.
Actually, it was a good move on Microsoft not to include dialogue, because that's usually where it gets super cheesy. Mm-hmm. This is fairly decent, relatively speaking.
Parents put a game on for the kids are playing tic-tac-toe. Keep them quiet. Every other diner goer is very happy.
And they're paying with NFC, of course, as you might expect, using their Groupon coupon. Check your email for your receipt, and be sure to save it.
Well, that's a really forward-thinking restaurant.
Thank you.
I got to say.
Yeah. So that concludes my quick tour of the new platform capabilities in Windows Phone 8. And obviously, the most significant thing that Windows Phone 8 has a shared common core with Windows 8. And I hope you got a good sense of what this is going to mean for our end users in terms of hardware support, for our software developers in terms of ease of porting and new capabilities, and for the hardware vendors and MOs who bring these devices to market. For us, this is a huge release. This is a huge year. It's been fun for me to show all this to you. And what we're going to do now is give you sort of a double click, a look at these things in more depth. We're going to get into some more technical specifics. So for those of you who are developers in the audience, you're going to start hearing a little bit more of the depth you're looking for. And with that, let me introduce Kevin Gallo and bring Kevin Gallo on stage.
And if you would like to continue to watch this, if you're a developer that's interested, definitely go to channel9.msdn.com. Look for the Windows Phone Summit. They're going to get more detailed, but I think we're going to jump out of it there. We've got some great news to talk about from Windows Phone 8. It's again, as they stressed at the beginning of this announcement, this is not a consumer announcement. This is a developer announcement. But even if you're not a developer, there's some cool things to know about. Multi-core chipsets coming to Windows Phone 8 when it comes this fall by the holiday. A shared core with Windows 8. So that it is easier to develop on both platforms. Internet Explorer 10, native code, part of that shared core advantage. You can write for the Windows 8 platform, and then with, they say, very minor changes, move it to Windows Phone. Better sharing with NFC. They made a big deal about their wallet experience. Everybody's got a wallet now on their phone platforms. Nokia Map technology powered by Navtech coming to all Windows phones, not just Nokia phones. A lot of enterprise options, encryption, enterprise management, Office apps coming to Windows Phone 8, and the start screen change, multiple sized icons. You can move things around wide, medium, and small. No more right rail, gives you a little more room on that front, and more colors for the start screen, which is one of those minor things that does tend to make users happy. Well, last words from Alex and Iyaz, and start with you, Alex. You're current Windows Phone user. You're very excited, as you mentioned before. What's your last thoughts?
I'd love to hear more about this, and I'm looking forward to whatever the next announcement is and hearing more about the consumer thing and availability dates.
You're going to buy one, is what it sounds like.
Well, if it comes on Verizon.
If it comes on Verizon. What about you, Iyaz?
Well, I think that the holiday season is going to be fun. There's going to be so many upgraded phones out there at the same time. The spec war is kind of over because this version of Windows Phone can handle multi-core processors. It's got HD resolutions finally, micro SD support. So everything that Android users have loved for so long finally comes to Windows Phone. There's still no micro SD on an iPhone or something like that, but it's going to be a very competitive market. I'm really interested to see how this is going to work with the launch of Windows 8, Windows Phone 8. I think there's going to be a really good connection between the two that's going to help Microsoft immensely.
Check out allaboutmicrosoft.com or winsupersite.com. Those are Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott's websites. They've got great previews, lots of details. There was not an announcement about Windows Phone 7.8 in our keynote that we just heard about, but both Mary Jo and Paul have written up their details about that. That's the upgrade path. That's the one negative. Windows Phone 8 not coming to legacy hardware. You're going to get Windows Phone 7.8 on legacy hardware. And if you want to know the details about that, you can find that out there or on Windows Weekly. Right here on TWiT, Thursday mornings at 11 a.m. Pacific. Paul and Mary Jo join Leo Laporte, and they'll be talking about this, I'm sure, on the next Windows Weekly. That is going to wrap it up for our breaking news coverage of the Windows Phone Developer Summit. Thanks to everybody for joining us, especially all you developers giving us your perspectives in the audience. That was really helpful and really fantastic. Thanks to Slingbox for helping us bring breaking news to you all the time. We're doing it more and more. We did WWDC. We did the Microsoft Surface announcement. We're going to be doing Google I/O. It just keeps getting better and better. So thanks to Slingbox for helping us bring this breaking news to you. That's it for us. We'll see you on Tech News Today, daily, starting in July at 10 a.m. right here on TWiT. See you later.